Sagittarius, if in recent days you suddenly felt your throat tighten, if a surge of nameless emotion rose up that you couldn't explain, if tears came close to falling without anything clear to cry about, then maybe you are not alone. You are feeling a very sacred moment. The moment your soul realizes that an ancient agreement has been broken. And today, I will tell you something that few dare to speak aloud, a truth that has unfolded quietly, but may change the entire course of your destiny, a truth that only souls chosen like yours can truly feel. Write this in the comments. I am ready to step into my true destiny. Because that affirmation is not just acknowledgement. It is the key that connects you to the sacred current guiding you toward freedom. Now, take a deep breath. Because what I'm about to say next will make you, Sagittarius, never look at your life through the same eyes again. Because you have been carrying a sacred contract, one that was signed before you ever had a chance to understand what this world really is. And today, you will understand. Have you ever wondered why you, Sagittarius, have always felt like you don't truly belong to this world? From a very early age, many Sagittarians have carried a vague feeling they couldn't name, a longing, an emptiness, a sense of not belonging, not because of your circumstances, but from the depth of your soul. You're not like anyone else, and you've known that since you were very young. You may have learned from others, blended in, smiled, held conversations, but deep down, you always felt like you were playing a role. A true part of you has always stood quietly behind the curtain, never given a name, never fully revealed. Why do I always feel like I'm living halfway, as if a very real part of me is being hidden? That question has probably haunted you more than once. And today I want you to know, it is not your fault. It is a quiet reminder that you were not born to fit in. You were born to lead. Astrology calls you Sagittarius, the one under the protection of Jupiter. And Jupiter is not just the planet of expansion, knowledge, and understanding. It is the symbol of soul truth, of a journey that goes far beyond ordinary limits to return to the sacred origin of your being. You are no stranger to the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What truth lies beyond this life? Many may avoid those questions, but Sagittarius cannot. Because for you, living without seeking truth is a silent kind of death. You've tried to change yourself to fit into this world, but the more you tried, the more lost you felt. Like clipping your own wings just to fit inside a box that was never meant for you. I'm tired of pretending to be normal when my soul longs for the extraordinary. It's a silent conflict between the human in you and the archer. One half always seeks connection. The other half always longs to wander toward unknown horizons. And because of that conflict, you often feel like you don't belong to any group. Not quite a dreamer, but not a realist either. Too real for this artificial world, and too unreal for its rigid standards. Your difference is not a flaw. It's proof that you carry a mission greater than most. Your loneliness is not because you're in the wrong place. It's because your soul was designed not to be blended in too early, to protect the sacred flame still burning quietly within you. Maybe you've blamed God for making you live like an outsider? But have you ever considered that this may have been His way of protecting you from losing yourself in the crowd? Have you ever felt like the only person in the room, and yet still felt completely empty? Write down that feeling in the comments. It's a way for you to look inward, and a way for other Sagittarians to know they're not alone. What I want you to understand with all your heart is this. You are not alone. You're just ahead. You are not lost. You just haven't yet met the ones moving at your frequency. Like an antenna tuned further, clearer, you're beginning to receive things others aren't ready to hear. And sometimes that sensitivity becomes a burden. But Sagittarius, that's exactly the strength God entrusted you with, so you could be the translator between heaven and earth. One day, you'll see it clearly, that this loneliness was never random. It was a sacred preparation, so you could step away from the herd and begin discovering the truth of who you really are. And today, if you feel that it's time to live your truth, then let the tears fall as a ritual to open the door of your soul. Write it down. I don't belong to a mold. I belong to the light. Because that very acknowledgement will open a gateway you've never stepped through before. And if you've been wondering, why am I being held back? Why has the best part of me never been allowed to fully rise? Then, you may be standing at the edge of a truth. A soul contract, once formed to hide your truest self, is beginning to dissolve. Do you want to know what caused that contract to break? We'll uncover it together, right after this. There is a truth. Not everyone knows, but your soul has known it for a very long time. Before you were born, a contract was made. Not in words, not on paper, but in light between you and the sacred forces of the universe. For souls as rare as Sagittarius, that contract acted like a sheer veil covering the strongest part of you. Not to reject it, but to preserve it. You were given a torch, but that torch was wrapped in soft cloth, not to extinguish it, but to wait for the right moment. You are a light that was hidden until the world became dark enough to need you. Ancient astrology calls this an energy contract, an invisible structure established between your soul and the higher realms. Its purpose was never punishment, it was protection, to keep you from touching a power you weren't yet ready to carry with grace. Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, always grants you knowledge, vision, and the capacity to lead. But because of that, you were required to go through a process of wrapping yourself up. You had to learn what it meant to be limited before you could break those limits with compassion. I know, this may be hard to understand, because you've asked yourself, why am I better than many, yet can't rise like them? Why is it that just before something great happens, something always holds me back? It's not that you're not enough. It's that you're being held in waiting. You are being slowed down so that one day your steps will be so precise they won't harm anyone, including yourself. Restraint is not punishment, it is sacred protection for the souls entrusted with a holy flame. When a Sagittarius is still unripe, their light can blind others. But when they are ready, that light becomes warmth, guidance, and healing. That's why you were held back longer. That's why your soul seemed to hide for such a long time. Maybe you've blamed yourself for being slow, but my dear, you are not late. You are moving at a different rhythm. The rhythm of souls on a mission. And you know what? Not everyone is chosen to sign this kind of contract. Only those who are trusted are held in reserve like this. You are not forgotten. You are being kept safe. Write this down if it speaks to you. I am not being delayed. I am being prepared. Because that recognition is the very awakening the contract has been waiting for years. And if you still have doubts, just look back at your life. How many times were you just about to succeed, but something cut it short? How many times were you about to soar, only for life to suddenly force you to pause? Life is not against you. The universe is waiting for the moment. And here is one very important thing I want you to remember. While you were living under that soul contract, your spirit was still learning, still feeling, still observing. You have been trained in the dark, so that when you finally step out, you will hold the light without trembling hands. It's not easy, but it's worth everything. And then, one day, when all the frequencies have shifted, when your soul has vibrated high enough, when the light within you can no longer be contained, that contract simply dissolves. No one has to break it. It just shatters, like a cocoon after a long winter. And you, Sagittarius, you are the first butterfly to lead the way. You heard the call. You felt the door opening from the deepest part within you. So, what happens when that contract is truly broken? Why did it break now, and not earlier, not later? We will now step into that moment, the moment your soul was set free, and the real light began to rise. At some point, unexpected, unannounced, you suddenly paused in the rhythm of everyday life and felt something in the air shift. An invisible wave touched your chest, a soft choke rose in your throat, and tears fell for no reason. I don't know why I'm crying, but something in me knows that everything has changed forever. Maybe it was a quiet evening. Maybe while washing your hands, driving, or just silently gazing at the sky through a window. There were no outer signs, but inside, a gateway had opened. Astrologers call this moment an axis activation, a time when cosmic frequencies realign to awaken the souls who carry ancient promises. For Sagittarius, it might be when the full moon touches your rising sign, or when Jupiter, your guardian planet, goes retrograde. These celestial movements are not just distant space events. They are activation signals inside you, like the final key sliding into a lock your soul has guarded for too long. And in that exact moment, the energy contract that held you for years breaks. No loud noise announces it. Just a feeling arises, one you've never felt before. Relief, acceptance, and a strange sensation, as if you're returning to a place you've never been, yet feels so familiar. This is what you need to remember. You were never useless. You were never not good enough. You were never too slow. You were simply not in season. You were like a seed buried deep in the soil, not forgotten, but being prepared to bloom at the right time. No flower is ever late. Every soul blossoms when its sun appears. And your sun, Sagittarius, has risen. From the moment the contract broke, you may have started noticing very small, yet very real shifts. You dreamed of a door always closing just before you reached it. That's no dream. That's your soul's memory knocking to awaken. An old acquaintance unexpectedly reaches out, as if to return a piece of your past. A creative idea sparks from nowhere, as if someone is whispering into your mind. None of this is random. They are all signs that your soul is being returned to itself. You may feel overwhelmed, confused, relieved, but also wistful, as if a burden was lifted, but a part of your past was also let go. And all of these emotions deserve to be heard. If you are feeling these waves, please don't keep them in. Write them down as a way to testify to yourself. This is real. And you will see you are not the only one walking through this gate. Because do you know something? All around the world, Sagittarians are shedding tears, not from sadness, but from a sacred release. An invisible network is connecting you with them through the same awakening energy. No one tells anyone, but everyone understands. Something massive has ended, and something even greater has begun. Are you going through this too? Have you felt lately as if you're living between two realities, one that is breaking apart and another quietly whispering your name? If you have, trust that you are not losing your mind. You are being released, and what you need now is not an answer, but trust in the calling within. Even if it isn't clear yet, even if it's just an unusual heartbeat. But liberation is only the beginning. Because once you are returned to yourself, the biggest question truly begins: who am I? If I am no longer bound, what will I do if I am no longer limited? And right now, Sagittarius, you will begin discovering that answer as your truest self begins to rise, unshakable, unstoppable. There is something beautiful happening, even if no one sees it, even if you're not trying. You, a Sagittarius, are slowly returning to yourself, not the version of you that was once tied down, once afraid to be wrong, once trying to fit in, but the original essence, the one created to lead the way, to light the path, to explore lands no one's ever stepped upon. You are Sagittarius. Your symbol is a centaur, half human, half horse, an image that does not belong to the old world. Because you were not born to stand still, you were born to go beyond. Not just beyond physical borders, but beyond the limits of belief, beyond the bounds of perception, beyond the narrow definitions of who you were told to be. You carry within you a bow, not to wound but to aim at new horizons and to remind the world we can go further than this. And now, as the limits dissolve, as the invisible contract crumbles like mist, you no longer need to mimic to survive. You no longer need to shrink to fit. You can shine as yourself for the first time without regret. For years, I lived like a shadow. Now I step out, and no one will ever make me shrink again. Let this sentence echo within you as a sacred declaration. You may have already begun to feel a surge of creative energy rise in recent days. No reason needed, no one's approval required. You just know it is time to build, to write, to create, to bring what's within you into the world. And perhaps you're all feeling a vague pressure, but very real. A sense that you're being handed a staff. No one says it out loud, but you know the souls of others are waiting for you to step forward and speak first. You may not know the whole path, but you know where the first step begins, with honesty, with ending the shrinking, with no longer fitting in. Because the world doesn't need another copy. The world needs a Sagittarius who dares to be real. Have you had an awakening moment recently? A moment when you realized you can't keep living the same way? Share it with me, because your story may be the light for another Sagittarius out there who is also on their way back home. Do you know what the most beautiful thing is? You don't have to be perfect to be yourself. You only need to be honest. You only need to allow yourself to show up, unguarded, unhidden. And in that honesty, you become a guide. But you're not alone on this journey, because there are other souls, being aligned to step into your life as sacred pieces of your puzzle. And something extraordinary is happening. Sagittarians, the ones who carry the light, are being gathered by the universe. Have you noticed someone stepping into your life lately? Not by accident, but because destiny is calling a gathering of souls? We will go deeper into that right after this. Because when one Sagittarius awakens, a wave of change begins. But when many Sagittarians awaken at once, a network of light is activated. Astrology calls this the phenomenon of fire sign resonance. Sagittarius, Aries, Leo. The three signs of passion, action, and light. When these three forces intersect, they don't just spark personal transformation. They awaken a part of the collective consciousness that has long been asleep. You may not realize it right away, but lately, you've started meeting people who feel strangely familiar. They look at you with eyes that seem to say, "We've met somewhere before." You speak with them, and time seems to stop. No awkwardness, no need to start from zero, but as if you're continuing a story left unfinished from another lifetime. You are not just a shining star, you are a part of the constellation. And now those stars are being drawn back together, not by chance, but through the intervention of angels. Because according to the beliefs of many in America, God and the angels don't send emails. They don't write letters, they send people. A friend from the past returns. A stranger speaks a sentence that shifts your entire perspective. A community appears where you can be your true self without armor. This is not coincidence. This is a soul gathering. A time when Sagittarians, the ones carrying the mission of light, are being called back into position. If you're feeling this, share this video so that other awakening souls can find one another. Because when light spreads, it doesn't just illuminate the path, it calls out to other lamps in the dark. You may not know it yet, but you could be the bridge that helps another soul remember who they are. And you will never walk alone again, because the souls vibrating at the same frequency are already finding one another through tiny actions, through words that seem like coincidences. And from that reunion, the true mission begins. No longer a solitary journey, but a collective one, where each person holds a piece of the map, and together we rebuild the path home. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your whole heart. Thank you for being brave enough to return to yourself. If what you just heard touched something deep inside you, share this video like a small torch so that those still wandering in the dark can find their way back. Comment, "I am ready for my mission of light." Because sometimes just one declaration can awaken an entire destiny. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because this is only the beginning. And now the light within you is no longer hidden. Step forward, because the world is waiting for you to shine.